I want you to watch this, and we'll go back and I'll point out some stuff. Okay.
Awesome.
Key Largo, John Huston, great film. Great film. This is what's good about this is it's shot in rooms. It's not a grand outside adventure.
Right.
So with that in mind, here are some basics from the beginning of one of my film talks.
Hello, darling.
How come it's hotter at night than on the day? And when it's raining than when it ain't? Huh, wise guy?
I don't know.
You don't know? I thought you knew all the answers. I thought you was a wise guy from way back.
How tall is Edward G. Robinson? Really, in real life, he's like 4 foot nothing. And look at him. Low camera. There's that V composition again that we talked about. From her head up to him and down to the other guy who doesn't need to, he's a henchman, doesn't need to be sitting there. But John Huston's like, okay, we'll get that composition. Also, he's standing in the doorway. The door jamb is going through his head. That adds interest. Where are we seeing his eyes? You pay attention to him. You pay attention to his eyes because of this electrical wire coming down that is right next to his eyes. So you got a power shot. You have a V, V composition. He's owning all of upper screen space. From there, it's just like, okay, these are the basics to remember. Now, as we go forward a little bit,
Darling, you've hurt yourself.
camera's
You're
still
saying,
low.
How in the world?
But from all the pictures of everyone else in the room, all the framing, it's all down shots. They have no power. They have none at all. Lauren Bacall has no power in that shot. See, once again, the tops of their heads now are helping his eye line. If you go from the top of this guy's head and do an angle to hers, you see Edward G. Robinson's eyes. Also, still in the V composition.
And is there a theory about the right or the left side being also more powerful? Because I noticed Lauren Bacall's on the left, and the guy that you're talking.
Let's take that after, because
Okay.
I think we can bring it back into comics.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is all what you're going to learn for comics, because you want to balance and compose. And you want people to see the character's eyes, and you want the frame to be balanced. They're actually doing it here. But I mean, my God, look at that. It's just everything is pointing to his eyes. The top of their heads going across, and the wire and all that. Also, with the way they've picked the lens, he's very big. He's low and very big.
I don't know.
But if you start seeing this stuff.
What's worse, Curly? A dumbbell or a wise guy?
A wise guy, I guess.
Got $1 million?
And that's a 3/4 walk to camera. That gives him, once again, he's got the power. And everybody's lower than him. Even Bogart's slouching on the right. He's sitting and slouching. But Edward G. Robinson is still taller in this. Plus, with Bogart, Robinson, and Claire Trevor in the doorway, you've got foreground, middle ground, background depth. And that's key. That's critical to anything. If you're doing comics, if you're doing anything, you want to be able to reach in that frame. You want that.
I noticed we saw an actual ceiling in that first shot there too. Something that you almost never saw outside of a John Huston movie until you hit like the late 40s.
Yeah.
And you saw people who were influenced by Huston, because it was all filmed on sets instead of actual environments.
Yeah. But it's really, really nice. I mean, it's just, and this is just a simple walk and talk.
Nothing?
But you're a wise guy.
Well, you see, I was educated only in impractical things.
Yeah, well, look at this. Edward G. Robinson is on 2 apple boxes, and he's looking down at Bogart. He wasn't this tall in the proper shot, but it's a feeling. It's a feeling. It's felt, not seen. But it's a nice over. And if you run your line down the center and cut them in half, Bogart's in one side, Robinson's in the other. His head's up top, Bogart's half down, and he's putting the pressure on it. But you know, it's about learning to see this stuff very quickly when drawing.
He's playing fairly loose with the lighting too. We've got a strong directional light source here, whereas in the main shot, you've got at least, you know, it's fairly diffuse. The directionality of it. It's like three or four different sources.
Absolutely. And also he's getting a little rim lighting on the back of his head. He's got a key in front of him. He's got some fill. Here's later on in the film. Look at the camera's not as up on him anymore. He's losing power here. The downs aren't as extreme on Claire Trevor or on Humphrey Bogart. Everett G. Robinson is now afraid of the storm. Look at that. Now we see how tiny he is. And what Huston's done is, they didn't need to do it. He put the chairs up on the table behind Robinson.
Yeah, I saw
Makes
that.
it even smaller. That
Yeah,
also is something that I learned from Spielberg, that the pressure on the shoulders of composition, those things are pushing down on his shoulders. You know, there's weight there. He's tiny. See, the camera is so really nice. It's higher now. He's smaller and he's worried. And I mean, they're right on him. Got a little bit of a longer lens, got a portrait lens on him, and the background's blown out. Now you're in his head.
What's the matter with you?
Nothing.
What's the matter with you? So that's what I'm talking about when we build this stuff, but it's all stuff used in comic book theory. It's all that blocking and staging and camera and all that sort of thing.
If we can go back to the drawing board, I want to ask you specifically about the layout you were doing and how that would relate to comics in one particular way, the directionality that Carson started to bring up. Carson, can you wipe out Homer here?
Wipe them out. Let me come back in.
Let me
Get rid of him.
Scram, yo.
So Ken, one of the things I noticed when you were building in all your shots, most of your action was happening on a left to right directionality. When you had your characters moving through the physical space. And one of the things, you know, that I've kind of come back to a lot is in layouts is how making something move the direction of the reading experience on a piece of paper makes it faster. And so if you have a lot of mostly left to right action in your comic, this is a faster read than if you were to flip it and have it read against the motion. So like an action, you know, it doesn't have to be a person running, it could be a car or whatever that's moving right to left against the reading experience is inherently slower. But I was curious, when is it just a coincidence that you happen to frame all of this left to right? Is it just because you've, you know, drawn so much?
I think it was just since I was making it up on the spot, and because the way the room wound up being designed, my brain just went, okay, well, we got two doors, we gotta, you know, come in and come out. Everything's going to be going from the right to the left. If I had my comic book script, or if I had my animation or movie script, I had to figure out where they're going and where they're coming from. You know, like, okay, well, left to right is always going home. Right to left is going away from home. So the character should constantly be going in the direction the story wants them to. But we're not going to home. We're going toward the town. We're going toward the farm. We're going toward the Daily Bugle. We're going toward Metropolis. We're going, you know, but that is away from town, away from the home. So home is left to right.
Okay.
And then, well, he's had his adventure. He needs to go back to the neighborhood. Well, he has to go this way. So you got to kind of figure that flow and make yourself some real tent poles and rules, so you can go left to right or right to left. And also, what is the emotion in the scene? That's key. That's absolutely key.
It's interesting. It seems like people are more aware of directionality now. It might be because there's so many people who are reading comics that were meant for a right to left audience. If you read an adapted Japanese comic these days or something, you'll have they won't be flipped anymore. So you'll have a right to left reading experience. And so people have gotten sort of a little bit more savvy about directionality, but it used to be that you could read stuff sometimes and it seemed it was a little bit more arbitrary in terms of the inter-panel directionality of the action.
Depends if you want to upset someone, or if it's a, you want to like change the tone, or kind of either. A lot of times they did, and there goes the train. A lot of times they'll do that to confuse in a way, to kind of throw you off kilter, or to show length of travel.
Right.
Going this way. It's all this B unit camera. It's all like, and here he is going down the street. Oh, here he is going there. Oh, here he is going that way. It's not as critical in comics, but it's extremely critical in screen design, screen direction.
I'm going to pull up that Tezuka one we looked at, since we're talking about it, because we got so fascinated with this.
This has been flipped to read left to right, so it's been physically, mirror reversed. So this functionally reads left to right, in reverse of how it was really originally drawn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is a sequence that Carson and I were really fascinated by, because he sort of does an impossible dolly. You got to pan in on the face while dollying around the figure.
Well, that's filmic language. He's using film language. He's got this on a Chapman crane, or this works. This is function. This is frame by frame filmmaking right here. You have a huge establishing shot. I mean, that establishing shot is very John Ford-esque.
Right.
Because it shows, it has a small, just says all the information's on the top of the frame. Ford was always known for that low horizon line and big sky in all his compositions. And then you've got this kind of nice little dolly around, which is pretty neat,
The thing I found so strange about that one is the dolly's moving this way, like, right, it's coming from up and it's moving down and around, but at the same time the reader's eye is moving this way, and so
as it does in a movie.
It really, I don't know, something about that one still feels very odd to me, because like I feel like my eye is moving against the camera motion.
I think that's what makes it part of.
Well, also the next frame has got to be an over or a reveal.
Right.
That's the thing. What's the next frame? That's the key.
Yeah.
Where are we going with this? This is all about establishing and the emotion of the character driving you to that last panel.
Right.
So you establish, and now with that camera, the camera move is saying something as well. That's just not an arbitrary camera move. That's there for a reason.
Oh yeah, like from the heavens down. But I found that one particularly stressful because of the it just like that motion counteraction. I don't know if that would work in a film, because
works great. Works fine in a film. It really does, because basically all you're doing is you're going from here, you're going from the upshot like this, and you're just going down like this. That's all you're doing. That's filmic language. He's using filmic language.
One of the things that I'm fascinated by the directionality stuff is that so many people now, their formative experiences with screens involve video games, and if you grew up at a certain age,
it's changed the film language and the comic book language. It really has. It's influenced everything. I remember talking to guys about 10 years ago, and I said, look, guys, this is kind of like a freight train. If you want to deal with your crew, or talk to anybody or whatever, you're going to have to learn video games. You're going to have to learn the names of the games. You're going to have to play the games, because that's another film language coming into our narrative.
Right.
And it was absolutely true. And I was ready for it, man. I was, I got my Switch. I'm ready to go. I haven't been without video games since Pong. So when I was like, well, I can control what happens on my television. This is great. And now, you're going nuts with everything. It's wonderful.
Well,
Those are very stressful too, because like the modern video games, you're controlling the character and the camera. And so your character can be moving to the right while you're panning your camera to the left. And that confuses my brain so bad. Like I
Makes your
can't,
brain itch.
I can't do it. I can't track it. Yeah.
So this
Well,
is
if you're a gamer and not a cinematographer, then yeah, it'll probably make you insane. But if you're, if you're in heavy in game, you're going to be fine. No, get an Oculus. Just be in it. You don't have to worry about what's.
Oh, I can do that. That's much better.
Here's the great mystery. Here's the great mystery to me, which we're never going to resolve unless we can one day invite Shigeru Miyamoto to talk to us. Take the great.
We figured this was going to go a few, not just one. So
take the formative Nintendo games, right? You start with Donkey Kong. You created by a team that entirely reads right to left, right? Mario
flat to lens, right to left.
And he walks to the right, then he walks to the left, and he's going up. It's an up scroller, right?
Yep.
The next one they make is Super Mario Brothers, and he goes left to right forever.
Yeah.
He literally goes left to right forever. How did they decide that this was going to be the direction? Was it somebody made a conscious?
They ran out of screen space. You can either make them keep going up. You can only do that so long. It's just like, yeah, but the adventure is this way and this way. It's not that way.
But why not right to left? I mean,
that's what makes it super.
That is an interesting question, because you coming from Japan, you would imagine it would have.
Yeah.
Right. Was it a discussion? And every convention followed that afterwards. Every game was.
Oh yeah, everything was a scroller after that. I was playing. I haven't played it in a while, but I like to fall into the scrollers every once in a while. What was I playing? Oh God. I don't know. It was a scroller though. I'm trying to think, because I know I was playing some of the race games, but no. Oh God, I can't remember which one it was, but it's just a lot of fun. It's just a basic scroller, and you're like, I'm digging this. I'm so used to doing 3/4 and full environments like Zelda and all this other kind of stuff, and you're like,
I can't do that.
That's cool.
No. Make me go left to right. That's all I want. This is what I want in my video game. I want to do this all day.
Jump.
Right, exactly.
Or the old school Zelda, like 3/4 view, but none of this like 3D. I can't do any of that stuff.
Oh really? Oh, I fall into it. I disappear. And that was funny. When I was working on Magiswords, Kyle gave me a Switch, right? And so I had so much fun just on the plateau. I wouldn't get off the plateau in Zelda. And he's like, why are you in the training plateau? I said, I like it here. I have friends. I'm building a condo. I want to be here. He said, well, get off the freaking plateau. I said, I know, but the old man, he's telling me what to do. And, I've wiped out all the bad guys, and I've eaten everything, and I've gathered everything. I don't need to go anywhere. I'll die down there. And I was right. I got on the glider. I put down. I figured out where I was supposed to go. Bam, dead. Bam, dead. Bam. I gotta go back to the thing.
So you need to do like Roblox, where you just build these environments and hang out and chat with like 10-year-olds that are like, you noob.
I'm just. Hang on a second. I'm gonna look up. There was a couple. This is a really good scroller. Hang on a second.
I played a really good recently. It's very simple because that's the most I can handle in video games, called Piku Niku, and it was a scroller. Yeah. You can go back and forth and up and down, but it's totally stays, on the XY. Like there's no 3D in there.
So Carson, why left to right in a right to left reading society? Was this a conscious decision? Is somebody, how do you think they decided that?
That's a fantastic question. I never even thought about that before because it makes so much sense to us. I never thought about the fact that it was a Japanese game first.
Yep.
Oh man.
I got to know this now. Somebody
One
has
of our
to-
subs has to have an answer to this, hopefully. But did they flip it? Is it were they able to flip it like
No.
manga? Was it right to left? And
No, it's all
No.
from left to right. I've played it. I played the game in Japanese. It's left to right. Yeah. That's
So
a
the
good
best
question.
the best time I had playing a video game was at the Oakland Athletics. I was at the ballpark, and since I was doing artwork for them, they always let me do goofy stuff. I said, Kevin, what do you want to do this year? You want to go out and, go down on the field or, whatever. And I said, can I bring my PlayStation to hook it up to the Jumbotron?
oh my god!
And they were like, oh, hell yeah. And the Jumbotron guys are like, yeah, bring that up. We got a dark day tomorrow. Team's out for 2 days. Bring it with you. And it was the old, it's like, PlayStation 2, the little, So we hook it up to the Jumbotron, and I'm out there playing Rampage and all this other garbage on the Jumbotron. And the Bart's going by, and I knew they were going to be like, what the hell is going on over there? We were playing all kinds of stuff. It was wonderful.
And no one else had ever
suggested.
suggested that before.
But the thing was that they're like, okay, well, you got to leave it here. I'm like, ah. So I left it there. And but the following season, PlayStation had a setup of stuff down by the little restaurant upstairs, the club. So it worked. And then they started doing it as a promotion. So yeah, we're gonna play one inning of baseball here in between, and so inspiration, but I had to say it. I'm like, I would love to play my PlayStation on that screen.
We're continuing to be amazed by how many things you're responsible for, like these gloves, PlayStations at the Oakland A's. The list goes on and on. Yeah.
Hey, you drive in from Modesto to play video games on the Jumbotron at the Coliseum. Come on.
I don't live in Modesto anymore, unfortunately.
I know, but I'm just saying, back then you would.
I would have. Yeah, hell yeah, I would have. Also found out in chattering to you, we'll just completely go off rails here. You were there
I'm
for
sorry, we were on the track still. which track is
Hello,
this?
railroad guy off the track.
Yeah, you
Side
were
of the
there
road, I
at
saw
the
John Huston and Shigeru Miyamoto playing Zelda together, isometrically.
Welcome to Random Theater.
So we do have to get this on record. You were at the Creator Bill of Rights and had a pretty
With your
major
buddy Dave Sim, yeah.
and had a contribution to it that was well respected. Can you tell us more about all of that?
Did you find the Dave Sim letter?
I don't have those actual issues. I know it's in one of the Jaka story.
It's in the Jaka story, yeah.
No, I haven't had time, like I've been super busy. But that is so tell us about like what was your experience there, and I'll poke around in my digital version
okay.
while you're going.
Well,
and see if
it
I
was
can
very
find
cool. It was so nice. And Pete and Kev was just like, look, once you work here anyway, Mirage, you come up and represent the Bigfoot guys, the cartoonists that do stuff. Maybe you can, be part of this epic summit that we're going to do. And I'm like, wow, okay, that'd be terrific, because you brought like Richard Ping and everybody else. It was a great time. It was good to listen to all these guys. I figured, kind of sat and listened to everybody complaining about stuff and how they can make it better and all that. And when the guy said, well, Kenny, you got anything for the Bigfoot guys? I mean, the cartoonist angle. And I said, well, been listening to you guys talk about all the, like, oh, the money's not good, or we need to take care of our elder statesmen, just going on. And I said, yeah, you've talked about everybody but the cartoonists. You notice that? And they were oh, interesting. I said, well, see, our big deal is that we put the same amount of pencil mileage and thought into a page, and we get half of what you guys do. Just because I'm drawing Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or Bugs Bunny doesn't mean that it's no less work than drawing Superman. Just pencil mileage, but still the same amount of thought. I'm still drawing a comic book, and I should be treated like you guys, but I'm not. None of us are. I said, you got to think about that. Also, you've talked about all the greats. You've talked about, like, you know, the Kirbys and you know, just, you've talked about everybody in the group that influences you, but you haven't mentioned any of the people who drew funny animal comics. I said, okay, one of the most prolific funny animal cartoonists is Jim Davis. Jim Davis. Anybody know who Jim Davis is? And they're like, yeah, he does Garfield. I'm like, no, James F. Davis.
Right.
And I said, look him up. And he did Fox and Crow, real screen, on top of animating at Warner's and at Fleischer's. And you guys didn't know who he was. You had no idea. And so I think it was Dave who looked, Dave Sim, I think, looked him up, and he found out. He's just like, this guy did all this work, and all we thought was Garfield, and he's in our field of comic books. And I said, yeah. And I said, you guys got to think about this, you know. And as Dave said, I got a very good round of table thumping, and they were he said everybody was really embarrassed that we had gone through this whole thing and didn't even, he said that was a problem. That was a huge problem. What am I throwing food at Rick Veach?
I think you guys are, it says you're locking felt tips over a point of order.
Yeah. Take that, you rotter.
Richard P. and Mark
our
Martin,
scene from Robin Hood.
Right. Try to pretend they don't know Ken Mitchroney, creator of Space Ark, and Rich Veitch, creator of The One, as they lock felt tips over a point of order.
Oh, that's hysterical. I was a young man there once. But I made my point, and then, you know, Dave went home and wrote about that at the summit. That was its own standalone editorial, and I just was so nice of him to do that. But like you said, he felt embarrassed. He felt bad. They talked about everything, but a part of the industry that's pushed away. That was not, you know. There we go.
It was an exhilarating moment in Northampton when we had a final agreement on all 13 points of a first draft of a Bill of Rights for creators. We had a nice little round of table thumping at the conclusion, and then Pete Laird suggested everyone should have a chance to speak up for the remaining hour or so on any subject they wanted to kick around, or things as creators we might be thinking about coming up on the next summit here in Kitchener. Ken Mitchroney, who created Space Ark and is drawing Myth Adventures as well, mentioned that there was something he wanted to bring up. Not necessarily to get us to take action on it or anything, but more just to point out something that bothered him. The treatment of funny animal artists within the comic book field. Well, right away, I thought he was way off base. I draw a funny animal character, and I have no complaint about how I'm treated. Or I do, if I do, it's not because I draw a funny animal character. But the nicest thing about these summits is how polite everyone is. When I saw the room full of people at the Get Acquainted meeting the first night, I thought, as everyone else did, my God, this is going to degenerate into an incoherent babble inside of 5 minutes. I suggested worriedly to Kevin and Peter that whoever holds the seashell talks rule in Lord of the Flies is the only model I could think of that we use to get things out of hand. A cigarette lighter or a salt shaker or whatever. As it turned out, Kevin and Peter decided to just let everyone speak and see how it went. Amazingly enough, it went very well. Everyone spoke one at a time. Everyone listened when they weren't speaking. So by the end of the day, we were willing to give anyone at length, any length of uninterrupted speaking time when they were needed. We were able to build our arguments gradually, piece by piece, instead of bogging down in endless digression. What Ken was saying was that a funny animal artist-writer is thought of as being less than a superhero artist. They're paid less, usually about half. They get very little of any company's promotion and advertising. His point, particularly directed at independent publishers, was that if you've got a name book selling 8,000 copies and a funny animal comic selling 8,000 copies, the revenue is the same as for the company, but the pay and promotion and whatnot is substantially less. In answer to the argument, none of us had to say it out loud. Ken had obviously been down this road before, that a funny animal strip is less work than a realistic strip. Ken pointed out that he doesn't draw any more pages per day than the rest of us. A page is a page is a page. When you're drawing two guys punching each other out or setting up a running sight gag, You have to pour blood, sweat, and tears into making it work. Besides, Jack Kirby was drawing 2 or 3 times the output of an average penciler in the early 60s. Do you pay him less because he can produce it faster? By what right does someone say work by someone who appeared in Raw is worth $80 a page, and a funny animal story is worth $35 a page? Ken also pointed out that funny animal guys are usually expected to do their own lettering for free. At the rate they're paid, they're basically doing the inking and most of the penciling for free as well. Then he mentioned that he made the acquaintance of a golden age funny animal artist who said they were getting about $35 a page back in the 40s. Has anyone ever heard of Jim Davis? 17,000 thought balloons appeared over 17 heads. And it was 17 little pictures of Garfield. No, the other Jim Davis. 17 blank little thought balloons. This guy worked for years and years in the field. His books were at least as well known as the Green Lantern and the Human Torch and whatnot. Never got credit. Never gets articles written about him, indexes of his work, never got paid well. At this point, I had mentally conceded Ken the point, but it didn't seem to have any particular impact with me. Big deal, I thought. Almost every creator in the last 4 decades has come and gone without their names being added to Siegel and Schuster, Bob Kane, Barks, Kirby, and the others in the comic book pantheon. Jim Davis, Ken told us, created Fox and Crow. An absolute burst of recognition, awe, amazement, the shame came later. Came over all 17 of us at once. I checked my Overstreet guide. Real Screen Comics ran for 108 consecutive issues. Fox and Crow, and we all thought of Garfield and then drew a blank. Ken got a nice round of table thumping. It's not really enough somehow. That's
Made my point. Absolutely the truth. And
Hey,
thank
Carson,
you, Dave.
mic's off.
It was very eloquent, really well told.
Yeah, no, you're still off. That's very exciting.
I was good. Sorry, I was gonna. I didn't realize I turned that off. I was clicking through all this Airbus issues. I turned it off. No, I mean that's a massive contribution, and to a massive contribution to a moment that is a massive part of the history of the field. And I don't even think until we were talking about it that you realized exactly the impact, because I was like, hey, like Image wouldn't exist without that, and you're like, oh yeah. So I mean, like, thank you.
I don't know if it made me any impact as far as the actual how things got better, I guess, in the industry. I don't know how, if it made the point. I mean, it made the point to the creators, it made the point to the people that were there, and that was the point we were there for, is to point out things that weren't working in the industry. And that was a big one. And Jim did not only Real Screen, he did Fox and Crow, he did Flippity and Flop, he did Tito and his burrito. He had he'd done so many. You look at it and you're like, wow, you're the Eric Bloor of, or not Eric Bloor, you're the Ian Wolfe, who is one of the most prolific actor guys in IMDb. You're the Ian Wolfe of comic books, because you've done so much and no one remembers you, but when they see it, they go, oh, that guy.
Well, and I mean, you've done so much, which is why last time Sean said he felt a bit silly just talking to you about the Ninja Turtles, because we're also talking to someone who was part of the Creator Bill of Rights, who has been part of Toy Story and like multiple animations that have impacted our life as well. And we were, we were talking about one like work for hire thing you did. So I'm glad that we're touching on more of the stuff that you've been involved in.
You got to stay alive. I mean, a lot of it is from hunger, a lot of it is out of curiosity. A lot of that is out of passion, and also being thrown in the deep end. But
is it safe to say that you think that this kind of cross-pollination is a boon to all of your skills?
Absolutely. I mean, it's come in so handy when you're, depending on if you're doing film or animation or whatever, to have an answer, because you've done something like that before. Well, we can't do that. Why? Well, it's a stock car race, and if you did this, that, and the other, that wouldn't happen. Why? Well, this and this. Oh God, yeah, because you're right. If I hadn't have done it, let's see, working with the trains. All right, I car hosted a lot in the 80s. I still do. But to walk through a train, you have to there's a certain way to walk. You have to bend your knees a little bit and roll with the train as it goes. If you're stiff-legged, you're gonna bang around like everybody. You're trying to get the snack bar. If you bend your knees a little bit and kind of duck walk a little bit, you'll go right through that. I went to go see Simon Wells, who was shooting Mars Needs Moms. I thought Simon was he was on the soundstage. And he said, "Oh, Kenny, you should come by." You know, because I work with him at DreamWorks, and you know, he wanted to show off what they were doing. And Simon's a doll. He's just what a great guy, and an incredible story artist, really good director. So he's got all of these actors in green screen. They're on this moving gimbal, and you know that represents the the house of the planet or whatever. They're trying to work it out in their rehearsals, and you know, they keep falling off, and we have the stuff on them to hold them out and all this kind of stuff. And I said, Simon, this is what? Have them bend their legs when they walk. What? I said, have them bend their legs when they walk a little bit. Take the pressure off. They don't need to. Oh God, brilliant! Everyone, listen. Yeah, so you know, it comes in handy. You know,
I learned that because I was on a train, bullet train in Tokyo. And
nice.
I accidentally, I didn't realize because I couldn't read Japanese that I drank the hard cider, not a big apple juice. So my legs got really bent.
Big apple.
And it is the only time that I've ever found a benefit to being drunk when it comes to walking.
Drunk on a train, you'll walk absolutely
Right.
straight. You get off the train, you fall on your ass.
Yeah.
You're like,
So in Japan, on the bullet train, the hard cider doesn't look any different than the apple juice. I just saw the little splashy apples on the side.
Wow.
But I love that you were drunk enough to be stumbling, but you were
Yes.
still sober enough to
Oh,
be like
better.
analytically like, hey, this bit neath.
No, I was
Those
like,
two
things
things came
improved.
together.
Yeah. No, I was
So-
like, oh, this is better.
yeah, it's wonderful.
So
Oh, it's
aware.
great. It's wonderful.
So there's
That's how the
little
brain
ways-
works.
Yeah.
That's
That's how
the
the brain
paths to
works.
knowledge, right?
It's amazing.
Look, I spent yesterday. I was up at Redwood Valley. I was working in Tilden Park on the little steam trains. Right, and I'm back in training to run the stuff. They have a little diesel locomotive that you can run back and forth. And I was working the dirt train because they want you to learn the railroad. They want you to learn work with the diesel hydraulic first, and then we'll move you up to steam. And Kenny, we know you know how to do all this stuff. We have to do this part of the training. Well, I haven't done this stuff in a while, so I spent a good part of the day. If I wasn't shoveling dirt, I was running the locomotive, and they were checking me out for training. And you know, there's a throttle here and the brake, and you know, everything's right there. So I spent time going up and down the hill, just like, okay, where's the runaway? Where's this? Where's that? You know, just like that. At the end of the day, we're back at the end of the barn, and they said, well, you want to go to notch 1, just bring it out to notch 1. You can go a little bit quicker, but you better, you know, we've had too much trouble. People just fly into the back of the barn, right? I've been goofing around with this stuff all day long. I'm looking this way, and I've got it a couple notches out because I'm still pushing a car, and you know, I've got my conductor. He's like, all right, come on back. And all of a sudden, the locomotive starts to take off. I hit that point where the hydraulic pushes the throttle. I'm 3 cars away from smashing into this thing and going into the barn. And I just went bam, 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 set it, kept the roll going, put it back into notch 1. And I went, wow. And I looked at my conductor and I said, this thing will run away with you. And he's like, God, you weren't thinking. You were working on impulse and instinct, and you know, it just breezed right in there. We locked it up. Everything was good. I got off, and it was like bang, 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 shut it off. He's like, we were going to give you a check ride tomorrow. You already went through the check ride. You avoided an issue, and you didn't think about looking. You didn't panic. You just bam, 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 that, kick it out, keep the air going, and just backed into the barn. Instinct. Doing stuff over and over again. And
Is that sorry, go ahead.
And that goes in with the drawing. You're like, you go all the way back to the beginning of the conversation.
That's
Where's
what I
it
was going to
come from?
ask.
Visualization, instinct.
I was going to ask if you find that to be like a core principle in your success in all of the areas, is your ability to get out of your own way and operate on instinct.
Adapt or die, you know. Yeah, I think absolutely. I've been thrown into the deep end a bunch of times. You want to be a DP on the like an ambulance, like you want to be the DP on the picture. I've never been a DP on an animated feature film, especially not a CG one, or one that was going to be 3D or going to be at the IMAX 3D. But I knew enough to get it right, and after a day or so, I was like, oh yeah, I got this. This is easy. This is like being on a live set. Simple, you know. We just brought all those theories in. But if I didn't have those theories, I'd be like, you know, anything. And you just gotta, like you said, it's all the things that you've learned that you retain. I mean, that's a big deal. You know, it helps with story, it helps with character. And that really helps those stories move along because you understand character, and you've been a kind of a Sherlock Holmes. You've studied everyone going through things. Which I think we talked about on the last broadcast, which was like, you know, watch what your sister's going through when she had her divorce, or watch your mom when, you know, they had that, when, you know, she's graduating from college at 70. You know, look at tragedies, look at happiness and all that kind of stuff, and just put it away, because you can always be like, oh, I need to have this. Oh, that's right, I saw my buddy Bobby go through this. He did that when his daughter died. Oh, geez, that was, but I know what he did. You break it down, you know, you just, okay. And then you're telling something different that no one else has told. It's not that scene out of The Incredibles. It's not that scene out of Snow White. It's not that scene out of Moana. That's something nobody's seen before, but it resonates with the audience, and it's hits you on a really, oh my God, somebody who's been there knows what this is like, or they're just like, you know, wow, that's what you want. That's what you want. But you got to pay attention to everything, be it mechanical, physical, every day.
Yeah, and that was the other scene that Tori told me when we were talking about Toy Story 2. She said, oh my God, did he have anything to do with the scene where they clean up Woody? I think was. And
Yeah.
She said that's one of the greatest scenes because something about that scene hit for her emotionally. And I asked you that, and you immediately sent back like, I must have, because I have like a storyboard sketch from it.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I did actually. Yeah, yeah, we did a little bit of that. That was someone else's big deal, but I did do some work on it. It was, you know, I added a few. Now, like I said, I've got the storyboards from it. But yeah, the Q-tip in the eye and all this other kind of stuff. Basically, what I did was Al finding Woody, but just before he cleaned it up, and they took my gag out because they thought it was insensitive. Because he finds Woody and he said, you know, he's like, oh, outside. He's just an ass, and I'm like, okay, well, let's, you know. And he picks up Woody, and I had him start hyperventilating, and you know, he's just like, and you get 3 of those. Well, here we go with the Modesto thing again. You know, water well containment health, Modesto. It's that 3 beat, you know, or the 2 beat. He's like, by the 3rd beat, he's reaching in his pocket. He pulls out his breathalyzer and goes, you know, but, you know, like, okay, well, you're a jackass. We can at least beat on you a little bit, you know, but after it just made everybody crack up. But somebody from HR said, oh, that's insensitive. People with allergies, you're not going to think it's funny. Then why are you laughing at it? You know? Oh God. I mean, but it made it a funny scene, you know. It went from, you know, a panic attack. Okay, how can you make that funnier? What's your button? Where's that thing you push? You know, I see my friends do that. They're like, you know.
Yeah, and she has an inhaler too, so that would probably contribute to her enjoyment of that scene instead of feeling picked on. I mean, it's something that for some reason it has that thing where you said it's not derived from something else. It's that scene is its own thing, and that probably would have contributed more because it would have been.
Well, it's also a mechanical gag. That is a mechanical gag. Yeah. I can't breathe. What do you do?
Inhalers.
You know, you have a bunch of different things you can do, but what's the quickest thing that is highly recognizable that everybody knows? And
Yeah.
it comes out of nowhere. We didn't establish it. We had it nowhere else. He goes in his pocket and then he's fine.
It was
Yeah.
very interesting that you mentioned, Keaton, when you were talking about the prop comedy and the cones and everything, because immediately I was thinking about the General.
Yes.
And you just, if you watch the General, any cartoonist who hasn't seen the General, I mean, put that on your list and study that. But you can just see how it all derives from the locale, and it seems similar to me by the sort of ethos that you seem to be espousing, which is keep your eyes open. That the experiences are out there, and you just have to sort of gather them in.
It's also
whether
Keaton
that-
versus the Machine. I know he went out there and rehearsed some of that stuff. He didn't tell Marion Mack that he was going to soak her at the water tower scene. He's got her back there, and he's got to put water in the engine, and she's trying to flit around and help, and he's holding the funnel like this, and he's pulling the trying to grab a hold of the cord to pull the valve to open the funnel to put water in the tender. And what he didn't tell Marion is that when he did this, he pulled the funnel out, put it next to the tender, hit the water, and it blew her down. And then he was just like, eh, and he put it back on, and she's like that. And then he got a real reaction from her. Of course, she was furious with him when they called cut. But mechanical gag. How do I get this? What makes this funny? It's just two people watering a locomotive. Simple. Mechanics.
And it seems that's all reliant on your ability to be in the moment and be confident that a failure can happen and it's not gonna crash the whole enterprise.
Absolutely. You can see Keaton as in with Scotty, speaking of Enterprise. What are you doing, lad?
Well, we should, seeing as I'm about to die from exhaustion, we should wrap up here. Ken, I know that you got to take care of some commissions today. So how can people hit you up?
Well,
for,
actually,
commissions?
I've got to do the last NECA drawing for a toy that we can't talk about yet. But as far as the commissions, you can hit me up at monstersbymitch@yahoo.com. And always the big question is how much, and it's $100 per character inked. Now, I didn't come up with that. My buddy Stephen Reese came up with that because I was charging what I used to charge in the 80s because I hadn't done this in 40 years or 20 years and whatever. And he's like, what are you charging? And I told him, he's like, dude. And I thought it was too much. I thought $100 a character. But anyway, the covers take time, so they're going to be a lot more. They'll have the 4 characters, but I'll charge it for the other stuff. But it's $100 per character. You want Donnie and Metalhead working on something, well, that's $200. If they're working on your car, that's $300. It's that kind of thing. And throw a little in there for postage. But if I have time, that's the other thing. Like I told the guys at NECA, I said, look, I don't know how many guys you want drawn, but you better do it now, because when I start doing animation, I won't be available. Or if I fall into a live action film, I'm gone. You won't be able to. And this is another reason why I hadn't done them for so long. And now I've got the time. I tell, I had a couple guys come back to the well like 4 or 5 times, and they're just like, well, we know because we got caught in that. You did a little round of commissions, and then you were gone for 2.5 years on Magiswords, and you weren't taking commissions. I'm like, I don't have time,
Are there any other things that you'd want to, the Fata Morgana, any other things that you want to promote in front? Because we left.
Yeah, Fata Morgana, grab your commissions. Get your commissions while you can, kids.
Yeah.
Time is limited.
Is there, Boyette and I are working on another
Back now.
idea for another story, but that we can't promote that until we're done.
Okay.
Let's see. No, just support NECA Toys and their effort to bring you the Archie figures we've all wanted. Because most of my friends are like, these are the figures I wanted. I didn't want the other ones. This is what I want because it was in the books. So do us a favor and back them up and go pre-order some characters. They're going to be great. I can't wait. Also, I did a thing for my own personal thing for Athern Trains. We designed a Florida East Coast locomotive. We're doing a run of these, and I was one of the consultants on it. So if you're into trains, HO trains, and you're a fan of the Florida East Coast Railroad, this November, depending on supply chain, there will be a beautiful FEC locomotive coming your way.
Nice.
So, but that's the only thing I've really got going on. It's going to be a great November for me because it'll be my birthday, and we'll have those turtle toys coming out. They got the train coming out, and I don't know. It's just, I don't know what else is going on. You know, there's not much going on. So maybe next time I'll have a show or a movie to promote.
Awesome. We hope so. We want to see it.
Yeah. Oh, you guys, number one with a bullet.
While you guys are at it, you can pick up a copy of Strange Death of Alex Raymond right now.
Please do. That is an incredible trope. What a great tome that is. What a wonderful book. It's, guys, I've devoured it. It was wonderful. I know it cost Dave his arm, but I'm happy to read it.
Oh man,
You guys did a great recovery too. No, it is a fascinating book.
Cost me half of my arm, but it's
It's a fascinating book. Yeah. So please, go get it.
Thank you.
That's from me and from Jeff Pigeon.
Yeah.
And we hope that you guys enjoyed watching, and we really Ken, thank you so much for talking to us again and coming back, and Buster Keaton would be proud of your
Oh yeah. Well, make beer.
no joke, if you guys haven't seen The General, that's like a master class in cinematic.
Yeah, The General, or Steamboat Bill Jr., which is his last feature. That's one where the house falls on him. That's one of my favorites. Steamboat Bill Jr. and The General are my two tops as far as his features.
Yeah. So what is Buster doing these days? Do you think we can interview him, Carson?
I'll get you a shovel. No,
was gonna
he's
say,
fine. He's resting comfortably on the hill up in Forest Lawn,
Is
overlooking
he
the
in
Warner
Forest
Brothers
Lawn?
lot.
Okay, yeah. He's
It
got,
would
he's
be-
got a long engagement there.
It would be a good episode to get a physical comedian in here, though. Like approach cartooning from that sense. Yeah.
I have to point out, we have managed to accidentally end both of these videos now with jokes about dead celebrities. I'd really like to apologize to anybody who thinks it's too soon.
Hey, we were running neck and neck with the Simpsons for dead comedians on Magiswords. We noticed that. We're just like, yeah, we're putting in all these like Phil Silvers and all these other characters. And we're like, wait a minute, we're running neck and neck with the Simpsons now. Oliver Hardy. I love it.
Water
wealth.
Contentment.
Contentment health.
Modesto.
So